Hello everybody, it's the Bluegrass Skeptic. A nice little rare hello, how are you this month? Just wanted to do a quick hello to everybody that's been asking, where are you? What's happening? I'm alive, I'm well, I'm working a lot. I had some site failures and hosting difficulties with a company I was using, so the Bluegrass Skeptic website went down. It's currently under reconstruction, have new funding to get it back up and running. So yeah, I'm doing a lot of work in the background and haven't had much to put out front for everybody to enjoy. I did take on a couple of emails though the other day. Some of you out there were asking if there's any way I would post some more analysis of the different Bible stories that are out there that folks just love to read and enjoy and either use in argumentation or, like myself, I just enjoy reading how screwed up they are and that kind of thing, how fantastical they sound. So anyway, I thought, okay, sure. A couple of you were saying if I could put them in podcast form. You don't have time to read, you're driving, you want to listen to them on your way to work, you just don't like to read. I don't blame you. Of course, I do try to put pictures in with my blogs. I thought that helped a little bit. But no, I can go ahead and do some of these via podcast, I think. They don't take very long. It's not like I have to do an hour-long segment or half hour. But anyway, one of them I thought I'd go ahead and get out there because I've pretty much already done a lot of the legwork on, and I personally enjoy the what the fuckery in this particular tale. It's one of my favorites in the Bible, and that is the Levite and the Concubine. For those who are not familiar, you can find this story in Judges 19, 20, and 21. And I guess I will go from here and start my analysis and give your ears a little candy to listen to for a bit. Now, many of you know, as an atheist, I do enjoy a lot of the quick synopsis of horrible Bible stories that are available online via, other atheist groups or secular networks. You read about all kinds of outlandish tales. You've got haunted vaginas, you've got girls seducing their father with alcohol, or an entire town wanting to rape angels, just to assert their dominance. Some of the stories want to make you laugh, some make you cringe, and then there are others that make you want to cry and rage at the horror they share. I know for me in particular, one of the raging stories would probably be when God kills all of the firstborn in Egypt. That one makes me rage. And then, you have other ones where you thought you already knew the story behind it, and then when you actually read it, it takes an even more outrageous turn to the left than you could have ever imagined. And there are a number of stories out there that people have thought they knew the entirety of that they actually didn't. So I've decided I'm going to go review some of these different stories. I'm just going to call this series Bible Stories That Few Read to the Bitter End. And I guess you'll just have to listen to my take on the matter. And if you like my opinion, that's great. If not, tell me how I'm wrong. It's just what it is. But as far as, what the fuck stories, some are like, oh, you've got Job's replacement family, and that is a good example. I think a lot of folks don't really put together that not only did God restore this poor tortured believer's wife and children, but he got completely new people. Like, not even his original wife and kids were not restored to him. He literally got upgraded to a newer model instead because, we all know a wife's a replaceable commodity back in the days of wrathful Yahweh. Or maybe the Lord knew something about Job's relationship that we didn't, and he just knew a complete replacement of the entire family was in order. I have no idea. But back to my emails and why I'm doing this tonight. I had a reader ask me to share a Bible story that I really remember the most, and that's whether it's a positive or negative light. And I thought, what story do I always remember the most? And really, it took me like less than half a second, because like I said, my favorite tale involves rape, carnage, and political gamesmanship, and that's the Levite and his concubine. Most folks give a very generalized rundown of the story. They like to focus in particular on the fact that the concubine was put to the street when gangs of rape-minded villagers came after the husband in order to know him. I agree. I think the initial plot sounds pretty similar to Lot's, but really I think it's worse. Way worse. And I mean this because and I don't mean it's worse because she was thrown to the villagers to be raped all night. or that she eventually returns back to her husband was hiding at and then dies at some point between them leaving that ramshackle of a hellhole of a town in their final destination. And I don't even think it's bad that she died because of injuries, that she probably has sustained from the night's assault and injuries. I think that even more horrible in this story that most don't realize, worse than the fact that her husband, after finding her dead, chops her corpse up into 12 pieces and sends it out to the villages everywhere. No, there's a lot more to the story. So I think what you need to understand is, let's pick it up where most of us know. The woman was raped after her husband threw her out there, along with another woman, actually. I think it was two of them were actually thrown out there. Like I said, this is really, really similar to Lot, but it is worse. So, the women were thrown out there. They're pretty much raped to death. Levite's just like, what the heck? Oh my God. And he chops up her body 12 pieces, sends it out to the village. He's basically sending out a war cry to the other tribes to come help him deal with the situation. So we're going to pick up from there, because I think we all understand what happened up to that point. And a lot of folks leave it there. And if you're a fellow atheist that sometimes gets into debates with folks, and if you're actually going to go into the whole morality argument of things, fine. Believe me, throwing her out to be raped wasn't the worst thing that happened in this entire scenario. You are missing out on a whole bunch of more gold in this story than you realize. So we're going to pick up there. So, we got the tribes of Israel deciding they're going to launch an attack against the entire tribal territory of Benjamin. Benjamin is the area where this village was located in, where she was raped and all of this other stuff. And you have to understand, though, Benjamin is also a part of the Israel tribes. Are you confused yet? Essentially, there's like an intertribal war over this woman's assault and subsequent death. The upcoming carnage was pretty much sanctioned by Yahweh too, which is very sad if you think about it. But this is back in the day when they had no king. I mean, they almost immediately tell you this at the beginning of Judges when you're reading the story. So basically, they could do what they wanted to deal out justice. I don't understand how Yahweh's authority wasn't the same as having a king. I thought he was the King of Kings, but who knows? But so what's going on? What's happening, right? These people are going to go to war. They're going to go kick the shit out of Benjamin. So the tribes do go to war against Benjamin, and they did eventually win. But you have to understand, there's more that happens. In between beginning the war and winning, they lost a bit, and they kept going back to Yahweh for help. And then right before the last battle, they got it. And it wasn't just one town that these guys were going to raze to the ground. I mean, we're talking about many towns, like all of them which belong to Benjamin. Women, animals, children, men. I mean, they put them all to death for the honor of this slain concubine and the integrity of the Levite, that she was married to. Now, you also have to consider this. Whenever you read a quick rundown of this tale, often they include virgin women being taken as spoils of war. Or at least being taken as prizes back to the winning tribes. But this is actually not accurate in this story. And this is also where we travel into the land of, what in the hell did I just read? I'm going to explain why. The tribes fighting for the dead concubine didn't spare anyone in the tribal territories of Benjamites at all. They slew every single living thing. And by the totals given in the story, it would appear that a total of at least 50,000 lives were lost in just soldiers alone. So if you add in all those Benjamite villages that didn't fight, add in the animals that were slaughtered, it was a fucking bloodbath. I mean, despite the fact that, much like a fishing story, the original number of Benjamite soldiers only totaled like 27,000. Somehow, though, it inexplicably doubled in number as the story progressed. But, I mean, who really cares about details anyway? A lot of people died, and puppies too. And then you have to wonder, where does the pillaging of virgins and more slaughter come into play? At the after-party celebration. Yeah, so, this is a part a lot of folks seem to muddle up, and I think this should not be happening, because this is where a whole lot more of what the fuck is going on here comes into the story logic. You have to understand, after the tribes kicked the shit out of the Benjamites for not helping turn over the rapists from their territory, everyone got together to offer more sacrifice and thanks to their God, Yahweh. Now, while they were there, the victors felt kind of sad that they essentially decimated an entire part of their people. After all, remember, the Benjamites were one of the tribes of Israel. Now, at some point during the party, a group of the Israelites got together, thought it was a damn shame that the Benjamites were pretty much going to die out, since I think there's only about like 600 men left out of the entire territory of Benjamin. The only way to restore the tribe would be to get them some wives, right? And to let them start to repopulate. Yeah, I know. Why didn't they think of the end result prior to committing atrocity? I mean, there's a bigger problem. Unbeknownst to us, dear readers of the story, the tribes of Israel had taken an oath prior to battle, swearing they would never allow any women of their tribes to marry a Benjamite. Plot twist! So, genocide really was on their minds when they went into Benjamin, and apparently they didn't even realize it. Now, this is where I find the story just takes you down a road of dumb and dumber. You have a couple of problems. The first being that the Benjamites are essentially going to die out. And second, the first problem is unacceptable to everyone because you can't just let an Israel tribe die out. The third problem is that they all swore an oath to never give their women to the bastards that allowed the concubines' murderers to go free. So how the fuck will they solve the first problem? Here we go. Were you at church today? That's exactly what fucking happened. They did a head count at their celebration. Who didn't show up for the sacrificial victory party? An Israelite tribe out of Jabesh Gilead didn't bother to come kill a goat and burn it for Yahweh. Because of their absence, they were put on the hook for the 600 wives. But it gets worse. Way. This is how it's worse. You would think, okay, so your cousin from over and Gilead didn't show up to burn his goat. His whole village didn't. Okay. Normally we would think, all right, well, we'll just go over there and tell them they owe us some women to deal with this mess since they didn't bother to fucking show up and say thank you for helping us, God, after we got our ass kicked twice in a row. No, they did worse than that. They sent 12,000 men with instructions to go put the sword those living in Gilead, including the women and children. I mean, yeah, they're going to go back in and kill everybody again, right? But, you know, you're going to kill every male and every woman who is not a virgin. So they found among the people in Gilead, I think, like 400 young women who'd never been with a man and took them out, you know, to where their camp was. And then everybody got together and said, okay, we're going to try and make peace. You go out there with a white flag, drag these women out there, you know, see if we can, you know, make things better between our two tribes now. The problem was, the Benjamites were like, yeah, this is great, but there's not enough women. There's only 400 of them and 600 of us. And they felt so horrible because they felt like at this point God was at fault, that God had put this big difference between them. And so the elders got together and they were like, well, all of the women have been destroyed in Benjamin. We don't have enough from the other place that we destroyed. What the fuck are we going to do? And we can't give up our own women or daughters to marry these guys because we made an oath before we went in and kicked their ass the first time that, hey, we're not going to let them have any of our women. So they looked around themselves and they thought, well, what else is going on? Is there another party going on? And they realized there's a festival nearby. And they said, you know what? Hey, Benjamites, this is what you need to go do. Go back to your place, you know, where you were. When this festival comes around, go out to where the festival is. And mind you, this festival was another one being held for Yahweh in another village within the Hebrew tribes. All of this stuff is happening within the Hebrew tribes. So, see if you can keep track here. We've killed all the Benjamites except for 600 men. We feel like shit for doing it. We need to replace the women. Uncle Larry from over in Gilead did not show up to burn his goat at the victory celebration from us decimating the Benjamites that we feel guilty for decimating. So we're going to go decimate Uncle Larry's village, and we'll take all the women out of there and kill everybody else and give them those women. But now we're still short women. So there's a festival coming up over at this other village nearby. Yo, Benjamites, go hide when the women come out, grab them and run and get back to where you belong. And that's exactly what happened. They literally went down, stole women that they wanted, and went and started all over again. And how do they end the story? Oh, in those days, Israel had no king, so they did whatever the fuck they pleased. The end. And that, my friends, is a story of the Levite and the concubine. I think it's way worse that they decimated 2 villages, enslaved at least 600 women, ripping them away from their families, slaughtering their families before them, to make up for who they killed to begin. I mean, it's mind-boggling, the series of left turns you take straight into a brick wall at the end. Because, oh, it's okay, because that's just the way things were. And it's just, wow. So enjoy that story. Next week, I haven't decided if I'm going to share with you my thoughts on Joseph. And I don't mean Jesus is Joseph. I mean Joseph and his awesome cloak, the different colored cloak. We all remember that. I think they made a Broadway show after it. Or if we will talk about that time Isaac decided to wrestle with God and God cheated and hit the special power move when he was getting his ass kicked. Either way, it'll be a good discussion. Have a great day, everybody, and I'll look forward to talking to you next time.